beautiful human. I'm Zach. That's Dan. And that's Gavin Leatherwood.
Yo!
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Like, that's a good last name. Is that your real last name?
Dude, did not choose that.
Really?
Yeah, Leatherwood.
Given to you.
I know.
Wow.
I don't know where it came from. I don't know, like, what its origin is. I'd like to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thanks, dude.
It's very strong.
Yeah, like, Leatherwood. I ride motorcycles and I go camping, so I feel like I'm trying to do some form of, service to that last name, but yeah.
You're living up to it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I don't think we've ever had somebody on our show who's played the role of boyfriend in more music videos than you.
Oh, well, I've got another one coming, too.
Wait, that's crazy.
I don't know what that is, man. I don't know what I'm accidentally manifesting, maybe, but yeah, for whatever reason, the music video space and being the boyfriend.
Do you believe you're typecast as anything in this industry?
I think that's really plausible. I mean, I think it happens more often than not, you know? I think a lot of people maybe are seen a certain way and then they keep going that direction because it's working for them. But that's something I really don't want to fall into. I would like to keep people on their toes. And, you know, one of the great perks of the job is transforming and being someone completely different, which is kind of what I was swinging at in the most recent movie that just came out on Netflix.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
You seen it?
Yeah, it's also like made a lot of history, and it's really weird and kind of dark and also funny, and it's everything you want in a movie.
Yeah.
But do you? By the way, the movie we're talking about, you can watch it. It's What's Inside. That's what it's called. Does it just jump off the paper when you're reading the script into what we're seeing, or do you have a different vision in your head based on what the finished product was?
I did not have the vision. Reading it, I was like, it's a really confusing thing on paper. Mm-hmm. It's so visually dependent, you know? And if it wasn't for Greg's extensive pitch deck where he had everything sort of laid out, like he's going to use red, green, and blue color filters to explain who's in whose body. Without that, it was like, whoa, this is kind of a lot to digest. So it required several reads and questions, and yeah, it was unlike anything else I had really read.
What are you actually reading for when you're reading a script, or what are you looking for?
Kind of what the story is telling. Like what's the point? I guess. There's a lot of. I mean, you know, as an actor, you read a lot of scripts, you know, and sometimes you'll get to the end of something and be like, I don't really know what they're trying to say with this. And when there's a strong perspective, or maybe it raises a question, or makes you think in a certain way, that's kind of what I look for. Like, does it get my wheels turning, you know? Because you don't want to be bored with a movie.
And what did this movie say to you?
It was like... I mean, first off, it was like, wow, this is a great opportunity to transform. Greg kind of offered that when we first sat down together. He was like, I feel like this is an opportunity where you don't have to be the boyfriend in the music video or the heartthrob like in Sabrina or Sex Lives. You know, he was like, I think this is something different, and I feel like you're capable of that. So there was a big, like, you know, sort of a artistically selfish reason for me to want to pursue it immediately. But beyond that, I loved that it touched on so many different themes of identity and getting into social media and wanting to be someone else and, you know, like taking on someone else's issues as opposed to facing your own. Mm. There were so many like layers to it. And on top of that, it was just a fun, crazy body swapping movie that was an opportunity for all of us actors to play each other. I mean, what a neat challenge.
And by the way, a movie that's shot over 18 days.
Yeah.
Right? You do it on $2.5 million.
Yeah.
But it's acquired at Sundance for a historic amount, $17 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand the magnitude of what you're making while you're making it, or?
No, not really. I think you just sort of go in with the, I don't know, I might have brought that in with me, sorry. I just you just go in and hope to do the best that you can do, and there was this really strong sense of teamwork. Everyone was just down to do the very best they could do, and there wasn't a lot of ego on this set. Everyone was just like, if you have questions on how to play a certain scene or whatever, like, we would grant that to each other, which is weird to like kind of tell another actor how they should play a scene, but it's by them honoring the character that you brought to the thing. Am I making sense?
You're
Yeah.
also, that's collaboration.
You're also playing each other's characters at times.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like almost for the majority, like for Alicia, she plays, who's Nikki. She like completes Shelby, who's played by Brittany O'Grady. She like completes her character's arc, sort of in like the back half of the film, which is crazy for someone else to like finish what that character's journey is. And she does it beautifully. Like everyone's so fucking talented in this.
Yeah, it is an incredible cast.
Yeah.
And it's a cast of like people like you've seen them in a bunch of stuff.
Right.
It's really a beautiful collection of people that you've seen in like how would you describe the genre of television that you've created over the past couple of years?
I've
Because it's kind of all connected. Like there's people from The 100 in there. It's
and like Alicia was at Fear the Walking Dead, and James like wrote and directed I Love My Dad, and Brittany White Lotus. I mean,
it's crazy.
Everyone's got like their own, like we've all been building, and like I feel like
but you've had specifically like YA on lock with these T shows.
Sure.
Right? Like, is that a genre in and of itself?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But it's hard to tell or keep track of, I guess, man. I mean, so much is of the love or attention is kind of seen through the social media of it all. So because that's where that demo is all on there.
Bro, you go from having just a couple thousand followers pre-Sabrina
to
having 500,000 quite literally within hours of it debuting.
Right.
I mean, that's a seismic life change.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like it's not overnight. You worked really hard to get on that TV show and you did a lot of shit. But it's weird, like you actually see the growth overnight.
Yeah, it's I try to not think about it too much, to be honest, man. It's surreal, and it's rewarding in a lot of ways. And I think when that initially happened, and I think it was like less than a few thousand, man. I think I was like just scraping 1,000.
Oh, dude, I was just trying to be polite. I don't know.
Thanks, man. No, but you're being generous there for sure. I think it was like, I don't know, it was like 900 or something, man. And like it followers on Instagram is somewhat of a barometer in today's day and age of like keeping track of, attention. And, like no one, like before Sabrina, I was just like, I was living in Burbank with 5 people in like a 3-bedroom place, but I was like sharing a room and sharing a bathroom with multiple people. I was doing that stereotypical actor thing, It's like barely scraping by financially, and whatever money I did have, I was spending on acting classes to make sure I was like sharp. And I remember like drilling the audition in class, and 1 minute in that apartment, and then the next week, I had the audition, and then the callback the next day, and then they're like, "Is your passport current?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I was getting picked up in a car and flying first class, which I'd never done. I'd never flown business and it was just like I was in a nice hotel room like by myself. I hadn't lived alone in my adult life. It was all very like boom, boom, boom. So yeah, like the followers is one thing, but
it's all around to change.
All that too, man. I mean, I was considering getting back into working in a restaurant because I was doing that right before Sabrina. I was working as a daytime host at a fancy restaurant, and then I was another host, and eventually like busboy, barback, all that. It was like those were like 2 of the 4 restaurants I'd worked in or something. Yeah.
What do you learn about acting from that first experience?
From that first experience being...
Or really this industry?
What are you talking about? Sorry, the first experience.
Sabrina.
Yeah,
This idea that like, yeah, like it is an overall life change. You go from living with 5 other guys to being in the back of an Escalade, and yeah, sitting in first class, and then like going to a wardrobe where you have nothing but clothing options. I mean, they just spend $10,000 just on clothes that are sized for you.
Sure.
It's crazy.
It's weird, man. I
Food
mean,
galore.
it's so strange. You know, I don't know fully what it does to the psyche, to be honest. At the time, I was like, oh, this is just how it's going to be forever. It's like, we made it, you know? But, you know, my buddy, Chance, who was on the show, was like, you know, it's not a matter of getting here. It's a matter of maintaining this. And I was like, wow, that's true, man. I think people like make it and then they just think, well, that's it. But, you know, there is this, it's up and down, dude. There's moments where it's like that, and then there's moments where it's quiet and like you're wondering if you're going to work again.
How does that impact the decisions you make next?
I think in order to continue to do this job, you have to have some crazy level of optimism or hope or ambition or something. You know, you just got to want it and keep pushing forward and looking at where you can make changes. And, you know, it's probably about finding some balance with it all, man. Because I'm totally guilty of like making my career my everything. I've gone through that a lot. I think we do that a lot in America in general, right? Like we make our career this core focus of life and we pursue it with like reckless abandon. And so much of my happiness was dictated on that as the premise, right? And at some point I was just like, man, I cannot put all of my like source of joy in this one thing. So, you know, how does that inform my next choice? I mean, it's like when it does get quiet, it's an opportunity to reconnect with the parts of yourself that you've maybe forgotten or neglected, you know, and you spend more time with family or cultivating friendships and, you know, striking that life-work balance, you know?
There is at least a little shred of truth to this idea of losing yourself when taking on so many characters, you know? Like, you kind of halt your own growth as a person to really embody someone or something totally new.
Yeah, sure. You put yourself on the back burner for a second because you're taking on a completely different personality, like you're saying, you know? So yeah, you do sort of, it's sort of consuming. It's sort of consuming in a lot of ways. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily. It's really fun. Like there's so many amazing art forms, and I know you guys have a lot of musicians on here, and you know, and and I also like to draw, and like I don't know. I think
you make music. You have an EP.
Yeah, I released music years ago, man. Though I will say it was just sort of born out of COVID, and I wanted to find ways to continue to create. And then the music that I ended up creating was something that didn't necessarily feel fully authentic to me. You know, there's obviously people who are experienced in this field of music and are like, we got to make a song like this, you know, and upbeat and pop and this and that. And it's something that I felt like I eventually was forcing. And I didn't want to do that because art is not about forcing anything.
Totally.
So I was like, fuck, man, I need to cool it there for a second. I need to focus on like my main source of artistic expression, which is acting, which I've been doing since I was 4 years old. And like this music thing, you know, I continue to write and play often, but it's not something that I'm ready to cross over into it being a career-driven thing, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like there was no other option besides succeeding in acting because you had been doing it for so long?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like I had a moment of like, I was sharing an apartment with my sister and her boyfriend and sleeping in the living room. on our couch, which was our bed couch, which is my bed, and also our couch. And, you know, I remember just being like, shit, man, is it always going to be like this? You know, I mean, like deciding between gas or groceries and like commuting from Orange County to LA on these like non-union commercial auditions and just praying like, please Walmart, hire me, like give me that check and like let me keep going, let me keep taking the steps. And yeah, man, I just remember being like alone and was like hi, sorry, it was like, God, like show me some sort of sign that I'm on the right track. And I was like, you know, I was like, I surrender. And was hoping for something to kind of present itself to me.
And
The next day I went to 2 auditions, which were on the list of, you know, things to do that day. And I was just like, am I doing the right things by going to these auditions? And like, am I making any sort of headway? Like, just show me a sign. And so I drive 3 hours to LA, traffic and, you know, the whole thing. Just like, you know, get to this audition and I walk into the room and right above the doorway into the casting room is this big green neon sign that says, this is the sign you were looking for. And I was like, I don't know if it gets much clearer than that, man. Like I asked for it and there was something that, you know, maybe others would just chalk up to a, you know, cheeky little sign in an audition room. But for me, it was like, I had prayed the night before and like cried over it. I was like, please, like show me something that I'm on the right track. And you know, it's moments like that, you sort of,
you need them.
You do, man. And it's proof that like, there's some strange magic here that, you know, I don't presume to know everything about, but
No, there's something larger at play.
there sure is. Yeah. You know, it's weird when it does that.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Well, how long after you saw that sign did the audition for Sabrina come in?
It was a bit. It was another stretch. It was another stretch of the Bouch days, as I like to call them. You know, but maybe like a year later, Sabrina presented itself, and
How many auditions do you think you've been on?
I don't know, dude.
Like tens of thousands?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, so much is tapes nowadays too.
I feel like people don't understand fully like what it takes to be an actor.
It's batshit crazy.
No, you are failing way more
Yeah.
than you will ever succeed.
Yeah.
But do you see not getting on audition or like getting a casting as a failure? How do you view it?
No, if you do that, you'll just drive yourself bananas, man. I mean, I've like had low moments where I look at all the projects I've auditioned for. I have an app that like stores every script I've read and the sides and everything, and I can scroll through and there's like, you know, countless scripts in there, and I'm like, holy shit, all this stuff that has come and gone and shows that have gone on to be really cool or some that have not, but you just look at it and you're like, whoa, there's so much. But no, man, you can't. I don't think it's beneficial at all to look at them as failures, but more so just like seeds that you're planting with these casting directors. You know, you just hope to make impressions on these people and continue to, you know, hope that they ask you back and water the garden and, you know, hope that the seeds grow and eventually turn into something that bears fruit, you know?
Is there a role that you really wish you got or you thought you had locked?
I mean, yeah, but dude, like, again, it's the same thing. Like, you don't want to look back and be like, oh, I wish I got that. You know, of course, I'm human. Like, I'm gonna, I look back and I'm like, Fallout was something where I was like, damn, I want to be on that. And I auditioned for it. But the dude who got the role is way more appropriate for the role and kills it in the show. And so, you know, it's just, and you look at that too and you're like, oh, it's not so much about, you make it so personal.
But it's not.
It's not really. You know, it's more so just about people being right for the character that they're supposed to play, and it's look, and it's if they mesh well with the other characters in terms of look, and if they do have the chops, and You know, if they can bring eyes, maybe, like if they've got a following, or if, I don't know. There's so many things that go into it that if you start making it personal and you start counting your failures as defeats, you know, I don't think you'll go very far.
No, you're right. You won't be able to get up and swing.
No, man, no. You just have to kind of keep your like laser focus and like just pay attention to the very next thing that you're doing, you know?
How many self-tapes or auditions do you think you'll do this week?
This week, well, everyone's kind of slowing down. We've got like,
Oh, for the holiday.
yeah, like once there's like a whisper of Thanksgiving, it's like
No, you're right.
just quiet, you know? Like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then it's like, okay, like now it's back. There's definitely seasons of flow with this industry, you know?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy self-tapes, or do you miss the days where you could walk into a casting director and kind of show yourself?
I will take walking into a room any day over doing a self-tape. I loathe self-tapes. They're awful, man. And it's so weird, too, because you're, like, reaching out to your actor friends, like, hey, do you have, like, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 2 hours to, like, do this shit with me? Like, where we're going to sit and say the same words over and over, and you know, and you hope to not put people through that, but that's a part of it too, is finding someone to read the scene opposite you. And I can't tell you how many self-tapes I'd done in the past with my sister and with my mom, and it's awkward, man. You're like, you're at home and you're like, yo, can you read this part? And it's like a romantic scene. You're, what in the Oedipus is this, man? Like, this isn't right. You know, so it's just odd. And then you want to find the right person to kind of you know, be opposite. And you know, there's several tapes that I've done by myself where I've recorded the other lines and then just played it back and forth, which I do not recommend. It's like, it's so soul-sucking in terms of the artistry of acting. So you're not really present. You're just timing everything.
That's not okay.
And it sucks, man. So yeah, I'll be in a room any day. Like, if that's an option, I'm down to be there. And it's scarier, which I think lends itself nicely to, I don't know.
You gotta perform.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I grew up doing theater, and like that fear of stepping out on a stage is fucking crazy. There's just a big like space of darkness out there, and you don't know, you know, but you can feel it.
You can't go back.
Yeah, no. Once you're out on stage, like you're there.
Would you do that again? Would you go do theater?
Absolutely, yeah.
You could do that.
I love theater.
They're looking
dude.
for people like you to throw on Broadway. They got a couple
Yeah.
million followers.
Hey, I'm so open to it. I love those days, dude. I think that there's no better rush for an actor than getting out on a stage.
I mean, also like to brush up on your skills, to remember that you can still do something.
Dude, theater makes you good. You know, like I had this mentor figure who was like, you know, TV makes you rich, film makes you famous, and theater makes you good.
So true.
And it's just true. Like, you know, there's no better way to exercise the craft than that. I mean, it's purely first time every time, and you know, you can't go back to one, and you know, you just
You can't go back to one.
no, dude.
One would take everybody leaving and then coming right back into the theater.
Can you guys let me do that one more time? Are you all right with that? Yeah, there's none of that, and I love that. I feel like that's a true testament to if you can do the damn thing.
Well, yeah, you get, you know, some of my friends are the greatest performers of our time. And what they all have in common is that they all started on Broadway, and Nickelodeon found them from Broadway. And like some of the, I mean, dude, a kid doing 6 shows, 4 shows, 8 shows, whatever it is, based on what the union would allow a week.
Yeah,
Dude, that's discipline.
yeah, man.
That's understanding.
I was doing that when I was 10 until I was 12 years old.
See?
I was on a Broadway tour of Peter Pan, and
Yeah, you played Peter Pan, eh?
I was not Peter Pan.
Why did, okay. Maybe you should tell me you were in Peter Pan, but not Peter Pan. What are you, Lost Boy?
No, I was John Darling. So
interesting.
One of the kids who flew to Neverland, right?
Yeah, with the dog.
Yeah. So
him.
I was strapped to a wire every night, you know, and flying to Neverland, and
But dude, precision. As a child,
Yeah.
if you are one step out of line,
Yeah.
no, you die.
yeah. You know what? Some crazy shit happened where like the dude backstage with the wire let too much slack out, and it like went around my neck, and like he pulled up on it. I mean, you know, theater, like I said, you can't go back to one.
No.
So like we're singing like, you know, this really chipper song, and I had just gotten like, you know, guillotined. I was like, no, it's crazy.
It's where real performers are bred. They're born. They're made.
Theater.
Do you appreciate how your character in Sabrina ended its relationship with the world? Or
I know the internet wasn't happy with it. I know that it was kind of a weird ending. We weren't planning for that as the ending. We didn't know if it was the ending. Like COVID was just starting right as we were ending filming season part 4. And Kieran was like super sick. We didn't know what it was, and it like lasted for 2 weeks, you know, and I was fine, and I was like, why am I fine? And then I got sick for 2 weeks, and it was unlike any sickness. I mean, you guys know.
it's scary.
Yeah.
What month did you get sick?
It was February, I think.
Damn, dude.
It kicked.
That's some
my
early COVID.
ass. Yeah. And it was brutal. Like I was wringing out my sheets of sweat.
Yeah. I got it March
so
early.
crazy. Yeah.
Early March. I remember the day, March 8th. I
Wow.
shared a vape with someone who had it. Patient 0.
This
Yeah.
is why you don't vape, dude.
No, yeah. Well, I still vape. I just don't share it with anybody. So don't even look at my fucking vape. It's mine.
Changing mouth tips. Yeah.
I have like a,
Yeah.
I Purell it every time.
Little plastic. Yeah. Yeah, that kicked my ass. So we didn't know, you know, like we didn't know that was going to be the ending for sure. And then it was like, oh, this is kind of a weird, like dark ending where like I like sacrificed myself to be with her, which is, you know, I don't know.
It's giving romantic.
It's giving something. Yeah. Yeah. It's dark.
Do you find peace with the way that ends? Because it is, dude, it's a huge show.
Yeah,
Massive
sure.
in your life.
Sure. Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I don't know. At the time, dude, I was kind of like, oh, cool. I get to like kind of come back to normal life, because it was pretty. We were out there for like 10 months at a time. You know, and you're not. It leaves very little room to have a personal life outside of the cast. You know, which thank God we had such an amazing family, really. You know, I saw you had Ross on here.
He's been on our show for how many years?
He's been coming on for like
12 years.
Yeah, a long time.
I love Ross.
That whole family's really special.
I know, they're so damn talented.
Really good.
It's
people.
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like good people, loyal
Yeah.
people, special people with a good heart, and
Yeah.
like just very real and present.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like they're the right people to be stuck for 10 months in Canada with.
Absolutely, man. I mean
that.
I totally, and it's true. Like we just got really lucky. Just all of us being out there together. So there was that, you know, there was total solace in that. Like it could have been worse. We all could have hated each other, but you know, that wasn't the case.
But also leads to really great chemistry, really great collaboration. I don't know, like it also it shows up on screen. You get what I'm saying?
Totally. I think people can feel that, man.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's like, I don't know, unless they're just a really good actor, you know, but you can kind of tell if the people get along or not. And we all really did. And it was just so fun. But yeah, there was just like there was sort of like oh, cool, like a new chapter now beyond, you know, Sabrina. But also there's this like weird looming thing that's going on in the world, and like, what is it? And so I don't know, it's just such an odd time. That year feels non-existent to me. I don't know how it feels for you guys looking back. I just like
I've lost track.
I feel like I blacked out during that time or something. I don't know.
It's so scary, dude.
It was just weird. It's just weird.
Yo, and you got original COVID. So did I. People don't get it. Like the original COVID was real bad.
OG COVID.
I couldn't
dude.
sleep, and then I realized I couldn't sleep because I couldn't breathe.
Oh God.
Like,
yeah.
like it was
Coughing
terrible.
up blood, dude.
Yes,
Like-
yo, yes, and again, sweating, and I believe my dog got COVID with me.
No.
I'm convinced of it.
No.
Can dogs even get COVID?
He did. Fuck you, Dad. Lou got COVID March 8th.
When
No, it's people don't. I
I
mean,
love
like
that you got the date just like
I'll remember it.
yeah.
Bro, for the rest of my
locked in.
life. And then because I remember meeting the person months later going, he told me he got one of the first tests. He had tested positive only a day or two after and didn't tell me. The person DM'd me months later to tell me.
He's like, remember when we both sucked on that vape?
Contaminating my fucking vape at the last LA Lakers game. It was the Lakers versus the Clippers.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, that's when I knew shit was going to hit the fan, was when
Rudy
all the
Gobert,
sports shut
yeah,
down.
yeah.
That's when I like bought my flight as soon as I heard that. My mom was like, come home. And I was like, hey, it's fine. It was like, every sports team is like shutting down. I was like, and my flight was $85. I remember like that morning, that day.
That's so crazy.
I was like, I'm just going to pack up and leave then, I guess. And I was in LA, and then I went to Oregon, and I was like, it'll blow over in a week, 2. And then it didn't. Yeah.
Crazy.
Weird.
It is such a numb time.
I know, dude. I tried my best to like escape it. Like I bought a Sprinter van and like fixed it up for a month or 2 and then just drove around and camped and
That's cool.
escaped. Yeah, and I was like, what is going on legitimately? Like, what are other cities doing?
Is this when you go to Oregon?
I went there, bought the van,
Got it.
and then like fixed it up with my buddy, and then after like a month and a half started driving. And I went through like Idaho and Utah and Oregon and Arizona, and I just sort of explored what was going on because I'm curious, man, you know. I just wanted to see what was happening, and
What'd you learn?
other places were like behaving like life is normal.
Yeah.
You know, and then some cities were completely like post-apocalyptic. It was just depending on what each town was sort of like believing in, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know. I just wanted to be an observer though and kind of see like what is going on.
What an interesting time to travel.
Yeah.
I should have done that. Dan and I were stuck working though. We were stuck working for a quarter of the pay, trapped in our apartments.
Recording
I mean,
radio shows from home.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
felt
doing the
like
radio from home.
some semblance of normality in some way though, no? To like continue to do what you guys do.
There
right?
was peace to talk to the same people every day.
Sure.
There was just a lot of unknown while fighting a greater battle, and it was a lot. It was a lot because, you know, at least for media, and I described it as this, like every piece of the chessboard was up in the air, and some pieces weren't going to make it back on the board. They were just
Right.
going to fall off completely.
Sure.
But at a minimum, every piece that existed on that board pre-COVID was going to take a different position. So, you know, we were in a big. We had one of the largest, if not the largest, I think the largest pop radio night show in North America.
So sick.
It was cool.
Yeah.
And we had it for 10 years. But you know what? In that moment, FM radio had a decision to make. It was like, am I going to do everything that I've always done? Or am I going to meet the moment and match the people I serve, right? Is the content that is generated and comes through these speakers on the FM dial, is it going to be the same fucking songs every 12 minutes?
Sure.
Or is it going to be a playlist curated to the fact that everyone now lives at their home? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was probably a greater responsibility on people like y'all.
It was a combination, right? Like I think personalities had a great responsibility to like live authentically and like share everything and share the news, et cetera, et cetera. But like people like from a programming standpoint never they didn't meet the moment. Do you get what I'm saying? And ultimately FM radio would like the numbers would dip in ways that you never seen before. So like it was crazy. Like pre-COVID, like the numbers are here, and then post-COVID, they're like here.
So weird, man.
Fast, rapid change because habits change. Like everybody's habits went from doing the same shit habitually every day
Right.
to like a shock to the system.
I feel like we're still sort of
Oh yeah,
stabilizing too.
totally.
Like I don't know if we've recovered as a whole in terms of like the collective conscious. You know what I mean?
Gavin, I think it's going to be decades before
You
we.
think so?
Yes, I think we're.
Fuck, you're probably right, man. I just hate hearing that out
Bro.
loud.
Let's just look at it through the lens of music and culture for a second.
Sure.
I think we've seen since 2019, 2020, more one-hit wonders just in music alone than we've seen in decades previous. More people who have skyrocketing success musically and then have the highest highs and then crash to the lowest lows.
Why is that though? Like why?
Because
why
we
are there-
saw media get democratized. Because the same thing would happen in virality, right? Like, how many people did we obsess over in 2019, 2020 that we don't even talk about today?
Sure,
But, like,
sure.
they're still fucking people.
Yeah, yeah.
They still exist. They
Right.
still have this viral thing attached to their identity.
Yeah.
it's going to be studied. Like, we had seen more people shoot up in notoriety, not fame, notoriety, and then crash down in ways that, like, are shocks to the system. And it's all relative, right? Like, what does virality mean? Like, okay, in one hand, it's Gail Lewis from Walmart or the Cranberry guy riding the skateboard for dreams.
Sure.
But in other hand, it's this kid who just had this one random video pop off that got a bunch of views, and then tomorrow nobody gives a shit.
Right. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, hey.
Too long.
So like, I'm sure you've seen the change. I don't want to ask what year you were born, but I kind of do.
93.
Yeah.
We're almost the same age.
Yeah, 94. So like, you know, the social media of it all, man.
Crazy.
I mean, like, I feel like we're from another fucking planet sometimes. Because it's just wild. Like, it's changed so much, and we don't even know. Like, you're right. There will be studies decades to come really honing in on this thing, because it's I think it's more detrimental than beneficial.
Totally.
Like, at its best, social media does connect us, and we're able to talk to people from all over, which is awesome.
And at its worst, it cannibalizes our identity.
Yeah, dude, and we're caught comparing. Like, I know sometimes I'm looking at someone's success and I'm like, man, am I just like another drop in the bucket? And it just plays on that, you know, that insecurity of the psyche and of the self, like, as opposed to just engaging with people as we do. And you know, you can't get this across fully on social media. You can't tell someone who you are just based off of pictures and a caption and some stories and the art you create. Like, there's so much more to a person than just that. And yet we're all trying to find the proper algorithm of life to be the sensationalized personality. And it's like, for why though? You know, in hundreds of years, like, no one's going to remember our names, guys. Like, happy to be here and enjoying this. Like, what a fucking crazy thing that I'm on the planet the same time as you and you and you and everyone who's listening. Like, do you realize that's crazy that we're going to see this world go through this thing at the same time? And then we're all going to go. And, you know, like, I don't know if there's really an awareness around that.
No.
Like, just the fact that, you know, it's so temporary. And because our attention spans are so short and we're just looking for the next dopamine hit, I feel like we've really lacked some sort of consideration for the big picture. There's not a lot of objectivity or looking at what we're doing here as a whole. I feel like values have kind of just like been gone down. Like, the idea of faith or values just feels so absent.
Morals, non-existent. Dude, people don't give each other grace. It's very weird. And in one way you look at it, the internet, like, everything you put on there lives forever, but also it's the world's largest trash bin.
Yeah.
So it's
like shouting into a void.
Totally.
Yeah. Not to be all gloomy about it and shit, you know, but
it's real.
It is real. And, like, I don't know. It's not talked about a lot. Or maybe it is, and I need to just change the channel or something, but I think about it a lot. And my friend group and we talk about it a lot too.
We just can't put our identity into social media. It's just so hard.
Which is exactly what it begs for.
Totally. It's what it craves. And
Yeah.
what is it? It's people on the other end. It's like, it's a two-sided thing. Those who create the content and those who consume it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
which are our two basic functions, right? Creation and consumption. And there's just this voracious need for, and this insatiable desire for both.
It's hard.
It is hard, man.
Because in one way, like, we'd make the case that, like, our show would be nothing without social media.
Right.
True.
And there's got to be a gratitude for it in that. And I'm sure you guys have great listeners who, you know, tune in to hear what you guys have to say, and that's awesome.
Like, people who tune in at varying degrees, right? So, like, we'll talk. These clips will go viral, touch 100,000, a couple 100,000, maybe a couple million. You never know.
Sure.
But, like, every platform touches a different group of people,
Right.
and different amounts of people, and different cut-ups of something. It's very...
I just
the
think
way the internet works is, like, dude, it's very fascinating. You got to be where everybody is.
totally, and maybe it's just a matter of curating what it is you consume.
Yeah.
Really being particular about, like, I want to go to this show because I like the way that they think, and, like, I don't know, as as opposed to the look at
You're bringing
I'm
on
the Fuzz King. I don't know where it all came from. I swear. But I think just having a discipline about what it is you are consuming. I'm totally guilty of just like the mindless
scroll.
Yeah, like look at this funny cat video and shit. Like, you know, it's hard to not, you know, fall prey to that, but I don't know.
You can curate your algorithm.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of focus, but like you can curate it.
You know what I get a lot of is like those like inspirational videos that have like cool cartoon, like animation with like Alan Watts speaking over it or something. Like I get a lot of those. I don't know if you've seen those.
That's good.
I'll send them to you.
Yeah,
So
please.
if you want them in your algorithm.
No,
Yeah.
even you speaking it, my phone's listening. So
That's true. It knows.
always listening. By the way, you can watch this brand new movie. It's What's Inside. It's waiting for you on Netflix, and it is going viral on TikTok. A lot of people are talking about it.
That's what I've heard, man. That's what I've heard. I try to not look at it all, but my buddy is like, dude, it's all over TikTok. I'm like, that's great, dude. That's far out.
It's what we want, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, dude, it's a weird relationship with this thing because I did this work 2 years ago. Like my job's sort of done, other than to come here, talk to you guys about it, encourage people to watch it, which you should watch it. It's a really fun movie, and I think people will take away a lot from it, enjoy it, and you know, I think a lot of these actors in here are going to continue to soar, and you know, it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to do this part of it, but this isn't like what initially inspired me to be an actor, if I'm being honest.
No, totally. What was it?
It was just the opportunity to play, man. Like it's the most fun thing I've ever found, to take on another character. It's what I was doing on the playground as a kid. It was just something I like naturally felt compelled to do, was to like, I mean, storytelling is one of the most ancient art forms. We see it in every form of art. You know, it's in drawings and paintings, and it's in music, and it's in TV and film, and in plays. You know, it's stories, and I just felt like there was something sort of important about being a part of that. And you know, it's just what I feel like I'm best at too. It's like where I feel like I can best lend myself as a human, you know.
That's interesting. Like what you add to society is this. This is,
Yeah.
I get it, and it's vital to society. Stories are vital.
Sure. Yeah, I think if you're asking how can I like best provide myself in the world, that you know, you pay attention to that, then follow that, right? And I don't know, man. It does something selfishly for me where it's just so much fun, but you know, there's something about creating for others as well, and telling stories and bringing characters to life that otherwise would have remained in the dark, that sort of feels I don't know, just like an adventure.
Who told you though that you could do this? That you could be an actor? Was it one person or?
I think it was the environment I grew up in. My mom was a general manager of a theater company when I was a kid. So naturally I was just around. Like I would go see so many plays as a kid and musicals, and I'd go with my mom to work all the time and just keep myself from boredom most of the time, because a lot of it was just in an office. But then there were those special days where we would, you know, go to an audition and watch hundreds of actors come into a room and perform, and I was like, whoa, like there's adults playing. They're doing what I do on the playground, but they're doing it here. And I was sitting behind a table, and they were auditioning for this play, All My Sons, and there was a role for a kid in it, and we watched, you know, several handfuls of kids come in and do this scene, and they're like, I don't think we found the kid yet, and they like look at me, and I'm like sitting on the floor, like, you know, just like looking around, and I was like 8 years old or something, or no, I was like 6, shit, and they're like, hey Gavin, do you know the words that they've been saying all day? And I was like, yeah. Like, do you want to get up and try to do the scene? And I was like, sure. So I just like got up and played pretend and was listening all day, so knew the words, and they were like, shit, he's he's good. Let's put him in the show. So that was how I found like my first professional play. They like Taft Hartley'd me into the union, and
That's crazy.
I was just like in, and I remember the first night, opening night of that show, and stepping out on stage and feeling that rush, and I was like, oh man, if I can do this for the rest of my life, I think I'll be happy. And I was like, maybe this is it, dude.
Do you get that same rush while filming for TV? How does it come? Like, what form does that rush come? And maybe it's different for movies?
God, you know what, man? I feel like it comes in the form of facing fear and different kinds of it. I think that's where we continue to discover who we are, which sounds kind of cheesy, but like, I think it's sort of somewhere at the point of, oh shit, I don't think I can do this, but doing it anyways, where you sort of discover what you're capable of, or who you are really. You know, even doing something like this, it like, you know, I was nervous this morning. I was like, oh God, I hope I can just like come across normal and talk about myself all natural and shit. Like, you know, there's some sort of dialogue that goes on in the head before you do anything, before you take on a character, or, you know, before you know, have a conversation with people and record it or whatever.
Well, it's things that matter, right? Like,
sure.
it's okay to be nervous about things that you give a shit about.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. Doing something that you care about and that you're scared about.
Totally.
You know? That's where you feel alive. Your heart starts beating, you're like, oh shit, I'm really right here right now. Like, this is crazy. I'm right here right now.
That's really how you grow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, if I'm like, it's when I'm comfortable where I'm like really freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm scared, is if I'm like.
Were you ever comfortable on a TV set?
Was I ever comfortable? There's always like a little bit of, and I think that that's good. You know, if I don't feel that, then I think I'm maybe not doing everything that I could be doing. But there's different types of fear. Like, there's the anxiety of like not being prepared, and you don't want to feel that for anything. Like, you know, like if you had someone on and you didn't know shit about them, I'm sure you'd be like, oh, like, you don't want to feel that kind of fear. You know, I think there's certain fears that you can kind of face, but yeah, I think just finding that. So no, to answer your question, I don't think I have really like fully felt like relaxed. But as soon as like action starts, I feel like that's where I'm like I'm in my zone of like, oh, this is what I love, is right here, and like everything sort of slips away, and it's just about being present and listening and being in the scene with someone. That, you know, all those other thoughts just sort of vanish at that moment.
Do you find the character every time you're doing a scene, or are you in character while you're on set?
I don't really like that approach as much. I'll say that like I'll bring the tone or energy of the day with me, but I'm not gonna like bring the character. I feel like it's sort of disrespectful in some ways to your fellow actors or crew if you're like staying in character. It's like you got to know when you're being you, up to the point of like when you're doing your job.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, if it's like a sad scene day, I might not come to set and be like, "Yo, what's up, everyone? How we doing?" You know. But I'll try to like honor that tone and just sort of maybe take some more time to the self or whatever. But it's like the character comes and goes like as soon as they say action and cut. You know, it's like you got to be able to dive in and dive out, or else you're carrying around someone else's personality, which is weird.
No Daniel Day-Lewis type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's the greatest fucking actor of our generation.
And by the way, like there are some cases, like a friend of mine, Alex Wolff, will do that, right? Like he's known for doing that.
Yeah.
He also like will carry around really dark characters for a long time.
And yeah, I wonder, like, you know,
it's heavy.
It is heavy, man. And like, you know, I think there is such a mental health issue with actors, dude. like, music is about being as vulnerable and honest and truthful to like the self, right? You want to write your story and portray that, but like with acting, it's like you're taking on another person's idea of a character, or you're taking on another person altogether. It's like totally
It's crazy.
predisposed to like some sort of multiple personality schizophrenia kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, dude, like, I don't know how Alex deals with that, or, if he has a good way of eventually like saging his spirit and letting go of the character. But man, I just, and I value that commitment. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think that that's an incredible thing to do. I just know personally that if I continue holding on to someone that isn't me, I'm going to just have a tough time. I'm going to feel funny. I'm like, who the fuck am I? I'm not really this guy.
No, yeah, you already are pausing yourself to take on a character.
That's
so.
right. Like for the duration of this shoot, it was 18 days, right? For It's What's Inside. Like, and the character being so different from who I am, like I was covered in my tattoos and I stayed like that for the duration of the shoot. So I would go back to the little quaint small town that I lived in Oregon and, would be like, would see people that I would see out normally in the town, and they would look at me like, whoa, did he like go through something? Like he's suddenly covered in tattoos, and you feel it. Like I felt a different kind of way having all that on, and sort of carried myself differently. But as soon as the movie was done, I was like, okay, like he's gone. That's laid to rest.
Why'd you pick Oregon? To lay your
I didn't
roots down.
really pick it. Like my family decided to move there when I was 18, so I was graduating high school, and there was an opportunity for them to move up there and work up there. And
So did you come back to LA by yourself that second time around?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they're all still up there.
So, okay, they were in the OC.
Mm-hmm.
You're with them, commuting in for auditions.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Oregon, but you're still young and you haven't booked Sabrina at this point.
Correct.
So you move out and live with 5 people in Burbank.
Yeah.
So like you really could have bailed and went up to Oregon and ditched this whole thing.
Yeah, dude. I was kind of lost for a bit, dude. Like I was up in Oregon. I mean, I moved away from my like best friends that I grew up with. I could ride my skateboard to their houses in 5 minutes. And then I was looking out the window at grass and cows and chickens, and I was like, who's out here? What do I do? Like, who's my age? Like, how do I start all over? I grew up, and so honestly, I played a lot of music in this old ass barn by myself until the wee hours of the night, and I was like drinking wine and like he was like taking painkillers. Like it was an awful time, dude, where I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. And I carried on like that for a while, to the point where I was like, this is like really detrimental to who I am and what I want out of life. And so I like told my mom, I was like, yo, I feel not good. Like I need to make a change. And so, God, my mom's a fucking angel. She, we like went back and forth about like what would feel good, what would the change look like to not continue on this like fuzzy time of life. And I decided to move to New York. I was like 20 years old, and I told her like, I was like, I need to like stop with these self-destructive tendencies, and so she helped with that. And I just like moved to New York. Only knew like one person there, but it was like, it's going to be the opposite energy of Oregon.
Totally.
And it was just like playing music out there, and that was a whole weird experience in itself. Like my New York shit was just wild, dude. Like I had like a really weird living situation where I couldn't stay there. Yeah. And so I slept on a bench for a night in New York because I like refused to go back to the place that I was staying. And I was working in restaurants out there too, and then I was mugged on a train. I'd fallen asleep, and someone like pickpocketed all my shit, all my money that I was like making from restaurants and playing music at this like weird cabaret jazz show that I like organized all the music for, and dude, it kicked my ass, but I'm so grateful for it, because like it made LA a breeze. I was like, well, it's not going to be New York, dude. It's not going to be all that.
Dude, the only way for LA with 5 roommates in Burbank to look good is by living in New York that way.
Yeah, I mean that was better. At least the people I was living with were,
of like mind.
Yeah, of like mind. Yeah, totally.
That's a big thing here. Is like you got to be around the right people.
It's
who bring
everything.
the best out of you. You are the company you keep.
Yeah, it's everything, dude. I did not have that for a long time. I was like, I became a little jaded maybe. I was just like, I had a weird perspective of the industry and how it operated, and I just like, I didn't know what to make of it all, and like, I didn't really find like my tribe until 2 years ago, and once I had that, I was like, fuck, man, this is a game changer, is having people that got your back.
And your tribe is fully set in once you found success, yeah? If it's 2 years ago, that's...
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they were all sort of on similar paths themselves. My buddy Josh Richards and Noah Centineo and Enzo Mark, and these are Ashvin and Jake. These are my boys that I am just so grateful for, that like are all ambitious and of like mind and want to pursue art, and except for my buddy Ashvin, he's what we call our civilian friend. He's in cybersecurity, but it's I don't know. It's just changed so much from kind of going it a lone wolf to then having these people that support you and love you. It's huge. Yeah,
It's vital.
It is vital, man. Yeah, you need that out here.
Are you still based here, or did you move back to Oregon?
Dude, I drove down to meet my buddies for a camping trip in Yosemite. They were like, yo, come camping with us. I drove down, and then they were like, yo, you should just drive back to LA. It's like 5 hours. Like, so what? You already came from Oregon. You might as well come a little bit more. I was like, all right. And then my buddy was like, dude, you should just stay with me for a little bit. And I was like, all right. And that was last November. So I've still been here since.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
It's a long time. That's a year.
I know. Like, I have driven back maybe like 2 other times, but just to like grab stuff and come back, because I'm like, I think I need to be here.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am kind of here, man. Yeah. Maybe New York for a little bit. I don't know. I just kind of go where the wind blows,
I did want to ask, when you touched earlier, you said like the internet didn't love how your character or the end of Sabrina happened. Do you look to see how the internet reacts to the shows or projects you do in terms of like how they end or whatever?
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
I'm a curious person. So yeah, it's hard to not look at it, but lately I've been exercising the restraint, because I just feel like there's no end to it. You can just drown yourself in the opinions of others, and at the end of the day, you just gotta, listen to your own voice about, what you do and what you did. It's not really my business, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that people are watching it and talking about it. Like, I love that. But, like I said earlier, my work's kind of done. So maybe there's a balance there too of like, yeah, I want to see what people are saying, but I don't want to be so wrapped up in that either, Yeah, still finding the balance probably.
I mean, I stopped looking at social media really like 3 months ago, and it's the best decision I ever made.
Actually, dude?
Yeah. I mean, like I'll pop on, like see like the first post on Instagram,
okay,
click on like 1 or 2 stories, but other than that, I just get right off.
So like you still have it, but
I still have it, but I'm, instead of looking at it all day, I may go on for like 10, 15 minutes, pop on quickly and get off.
Are you posting actively at all?
No,
or no,
I haven't.
Not really?
I post for our show, so
Yeah.
I'll go on our show, I'll post, get off.
Yeah. Do you find that like the less time you spend on it, the time that you do spend on it feels
Like a waste of time?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I see
so
things, I'm like,
crazy.
who cares?
Yeah.
You know, not like a who cares, but like, I don't need to see this.
I get it.
And then you start feeling a bit like disconnected, but not in a bad way. Like Carlos over there, our guy behind the video camera, he'll say like, "Hey, did you see this?" I'm like, "No," and I don't feel like I need to see that.
Well, it's weird, dude, because it's its whole own organism.
Yeah,
You know, where it's like when you unplug from it, you're like, how the hell did I think that was life?
exactly.
Because I think a lot of people do believe that is life.
Yeah.
You know, you wake up. I know a lot of people reach for their phone.
Mm-hmm.
I do too sometimes, totally guilty. I'm not like saying I'm any better, but you know, if you go for your phone first thing and then you go for social media, it's like, whoa, like, do you know what you're doing to your program?
The answer is like
know.
people do know, but it's hard because it's
I
a drug.
I know it is, dude, and it's seemingly here to stay. And yeah,
But who needs TikTok when you have a Carlos, right? He'll just keep you in the loop on everything that's trending, right?
yeah, man.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you
He's
very
the
much.
I mean,
Messenger.
it is addicting, but once you kind of get out of it and you break that cycle, you're like, oh, I don't need to know what everybody's doing at all times.
I'm sure there's just a balance there of like how do I stay somewhat plugged into the culture but also not completely
Disconnected.
yeah. addicted.
Well, it
right?
can't run you.
Yeah.
But also, like, when people are talking about you on the internet, like, a part of you wants to know. Like, did you give it a shit at all? Be honest. When what people were saying about around sex lives of college girls? Because, like, people talk.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, at some point, again, dude, like you just have to come back to what is real.
Yeah. And you had already done your job. You know the truth.
Right.
So,
Right. And it's like, if I'm not working on the relationships that are in my immediate life, that's what matters the most to me, I think. It's just like the time that I'm spending with the people that I've chosen to spend that time with. And, you know, I think you'll just drive yourself crazy if you wrap yourself up in what everyone is saying all the time, or what everyone's doing all the time, what people are posting and how many likes and what brands and what shows. And it's like,
but it's like the genre of YA television, which the two major shows you've been on.
Sure.
Dude, they lend themselves to it. A part of the fuel is the discussion.
yeah, yeah,
Like, it essentially is the marketing around these shows.
I know.
Think about it. Like, how much marketing dollars really went into both those shows? No, it just had natural, organic hype that the internet was just seething and, like, starving for.
Yeah, and it's same with It's What's Inside.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think a big part of the plan there was just to be like purely digital. You know, like a lot of it is like a lot of it comes up on like TikTok ads and stuff. Like, you know, I was with my friends and they're like, "Oh my God, like it's your film," and I'm, you know, it's
But
like
a lot
that's
of it's organic too.
yeah. It's like that's kind of today's billboard.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
true.
know.
It's What's Inside. Watch it. It's really good. It's waiting for you on Netflix. You good?
Yeah, no, what you said is true. Like, it's another thing I realized when I step back from the internet. It's like the people on the internet view you completely differently than the people in your real life.
Yeah.
And it's
we
like,
don't offer grace
no.
to the people who create the art or create the content that makes us feel the most understood. Like the people who really should be, we should treat as a friend because they're creating the music that makes us feel like we have learned new things about ourselves or whatever. We give them no grace. No grace is given to people we see on a screen or hear through a speaker at all. No matter what our relationship is with them or how we've been moved by the stuff they make. It's fucked.
I remember someone coming up to me and being disappointed by me being me and not being my character from Sabrina. This was a while ago, but like I remember that and just being like, oh, this is like, it was new to me. I was like, this is strange.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're not like your character really. And I was like, well, no,
It's not me.
it's not me.
What a weird thing to expect.
Yeah, but it's common, I think, you know. Yeah, I don't know, dude. And you know, social media is just another character.
That's
That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah,
a character comprised of a whole lot of characters.
curated photographs and you know,
It's true.
AI written captions. I don't know.
Which you guys touch on in the movie.
Yeah, which is you know, part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
You know, we get to poke a little bit at that, which I think is good. It needs a little bit more poking at.
Like
It's too acceptable right now.
the whole thing starts with like a tech guy coming with this like fancy invention thing,
Yeah.
and
then madness fucking ensues.
it's like Freaky Friday on steroids.
Yeah. What do they say? It's like Freaky Friday, Knives Out, and Bodies. I think is like they're the comparables.
It does fuck with your brain as you're watching it because you're trying to keep track of who's who and who's in whose body and who's actually having a conversation with who. Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna do a spoiler, but I don't want to ruin it. But like,
Please don't. Yeah. We
Like-
want to draw them in.
yeah,
But totally, dude. I mean, I think that's something that the movie calls for is your attention,
yo, you can't turn away, or you're like, who's who?
which
What's going on?
we've kind of gotten used to the opposite. Like
Yeah.
you can tune into something and
You're right.
half pay attention. It's like, yo, that shit's lazy. Like we've been doing that now for a while, and this asks for your attention. Like, yeah, pay. Like, it's a movie. Like it's an hour and 40. You know, you can follow along, and because it is confusing, and I think there is rewatch value to it as well. And yeah,
Thank God for the red screens. When the red screen,
Yeah.
the filters come on, you're like, oh, okay, got it, okay.
we didn't have that originally.
Well, it was very important.
So important,
so
dude.
important.
Yeah, it really made the world of a difference.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
By the way, a lot of our conversation is very present in this movie. A lot of the social
Totally.
media, it all ties into the larger film.
And I think that's why it's like having its moment is because it's part of the zeitgeist. Like it is circling a lot of our minds. It's just like there hasn't been a lot of movies that really touch on it. Not in the way that ours does, where at the forefront of it is just like this fun, concept of body swapping and all the drama and like the archetypical characters that we're all playing can speak to a different person that you probably know in culture in this punched up sort of way. But beyond it is this sort of conversation of like, yeah, what do we value as a culture? And why do we value that? And how do we address our own shit? And how do we what happens when our shadows are called out in front of us and we're forced to look at them? So, that dynamic really plays out between James and Brittany's character, Cyrus and Shelby. You see in their dynamic just like, the frustrations of being honest and authentic with one another and with the self.
It's what's inside. Watch it. It's waiting for you on Netflix. Link below. You good?
Yep.
Thanks for hanging out, Gavin.
Thanks for having me, man. This is great.
Special guy. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Watch the movie. It's on Netflix.
Watch it. Do it. We
I
dare
did
you.
have one more question.
Yeah, dude, hit me.
Why did Netflix make you use a turkey baster for an advertisement in 2018 for Sabrina?
I thought that video disappeared, but I forgot the internet is forever.
Wait, what?
I don't know, dude. I
Turkey
don't
baster?
know.
It was like a random Thanksgiving advertisement for Sabrina, and it's just Gavin, like, using a turkey baster and making a Thanksgiving dinner, like, kind of sexually, like...
Yeah, I don't know, dude. It was one of the first things Netflix asked me to do. I was the kid from the apartment in Burbank with, like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
You're
They were
like,
just
whatever you want.
Yo, we have this idea for a concept, right? Where I think originally it was like shirtless too, and I'm like maybe I can wear a shirt for it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think they're just like this is gonna do something, and it did something. I don't know. It's so cringy.
All right, so the answer is you have no idea as well, because I think the internet was still like, why is this a thing?
Yeah. Your guess is as good as mine. Haven't basted a damn turkey since. I think I got some trauma from that or something. I don't know.
Have you been sexualized on set in ways that like have made you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah. And like honestly, I don't want to like talk about the specifics because I don't really like. I don't want to out anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, there's a conversation to be had about it, where like things have been said to me from, female directors, where I know for a fact that if the roles were reversed, it would really be so not cool. And at the time I had just bit my tongue and I was like, I see a little bit of what all of this like inappropriate behavior that has been talked about for so long is about. Like, I've felt a little bit of it on the other end of things and was like, this is so not cool. And it's everywhere though. It's not, it's not specific to one sex or the other. It's all pervasive.
Totally.
And for sure, women have gotten the brunt end of the stick for much longer than men. But we're seeing it shift into that world too. And it, but yeah, like that objectification and shit just was like, I just got a sour taste for it and was like, oh, this is not what I want my career to be based around, is like just being a piece of meat.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, do you feel like at a certain point that becomes your identity?
If it had become my identity, I feel like I would have leaned into it and been like way more prone to like capitalizing on that. But dude, it's also in, like, if I post, for example, the poster from It's What's Inside, it gets X amount of views and likes. And if I post some photo of me shirtless, it's a different story. And it's like, sex sells. We all know that. We've all heard that time and time again. It's just a shame that we can't find something to value more than that.
Totally. Yeah, just because it sells doesn't make it right.
Yeah. So, fuck the likes.
It's what's inside.
It's what's inside.
Watch the movie. It's waiting for you on Netflix. Really, thanks for the time, man.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it, man.
Gavin Leatherwood. Great last name, everybody.
Thanks, yo.